Srila Prabhupada is very mercifully given this beautiful explanation in Bhagavatam, every chapter, every cantos. So I'm very eternally grateful. And also he established the ISKCON society where this Bhagavatam recitation will continue in every temple. And it's wonderful. And I'm also eternally grateful to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Panchatattva and of course divine couple Radha Krishna, compassionately trying to take us back home, back to Godhead in every way possible without forcing or punishing us, but rather compassionately trying to pull us out. So with this mood, I'm going to start. Today's verse was recommended by devotees there, that 8th canto, chapter 6, and text 36 to 38. Tamstatha bhagavan manasa bhagna bahuru kandaran vignaya bhagavanstatra bhavuva garuradaja. The demigods and the demons were frustrated and disheartened, and their arms, thighs, and shoulder were broken. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who knows everything, appeared there on the back of his carrier, Garuda. Next verse, 37. Giripata vinishpistam Vilokkamara Danavan Ikshaya Jivayayam Asha Nirjaran Nirvaranan Jatha. Giripata, because of the falling of Mandar mountain, Vinishpistan, crushed. Bilokka, observing Amara, the demigods, Danavan, and the demons, Ikshaya, simply by his glance, Jivayam Asha, brought back to life, Nirjaran, without aggrievement, Nirvarnan, without bruises, Jatha, as. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Observing that most of the demons and the demigods had been crushed, and by the falling of the mountain, the Lord glanced over them and brought them back to life. Thus they became free from grief. They even had no bruises on their bodies. And text 38. Girim, the mountain, Cha also, Arupa, placing, Garure, on the back of Garuda, Hastena, by the hand, Ekena, one, Lilaya, very easily as his pastimes, Arya, getting on, Prayayo, he went, Abdim, unto the ocean of milk, Sura Asura Gane, by the demigods and Asuras, Britaha, surrounded. Girim Charupagorure, Hastenaikena Lilaya, Arija Prayayo Abdim, Sura Sura Ganer Brita. The Lord very easily lifted the mountain with one hand and placed it on the back of Garuda. Then he too got on the back of Garuda and went to the ocean of milk, surrounded by the demigods and demons. Here is the proof of the omnipotence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is above everyone. There are two classes of living entity. The demons and the demigods, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead is above them both. The demons believe in the chance theory of creation, whereas demigods believe in creation by the hand of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The omnipotence of the Supreme Lord is proved there. For simply with one hand he lifted Mandara mountain, the demigod and the demons placed them on the back of Garuda and brought them to the ocean of milk. Now the demigod, the devotees would immediately accept this incident, knowing that the Lord can lift anything, however heavy it might be. But although demons were also carried along with the demigods, demons, upon hearing of this incident, would say that it was mythological. But if God is all-powerful, why would it be difficult for him to lift a mountain? Since he is floating innumerable planets with many hundreds and thousands of Mandara mountains, why can't he lift one of them with his hand? This is not mythology, but the difference between the believer and the faithless is that the demons accept the incident mentioned in the Vedic literature to be true, whereas the demons simply argue and label all this historical incident mythology. Demons would prefer to explain that everything happening in the cosmic manifestation take place by chance. But demigod or devotees never consider anything to be chance. Rather, they know that everything is an arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the difference between demigod and the demons. Om Ajnanatirandasya Yenanjana Salakayam Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namo Sri Chaitanya Manovistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Padantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Jutapada Kamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavangscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathannitam Tam Sajivam Sadhaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanitangscha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Paschata Deshatarine Vancha Kalpataruvesya Kripa Sindhubhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebho Vaishnavebho Namo Namo Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasadi Gaura Bhakta Binda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna. So, this chapter, this canto of Bhagavatam has a 4 prominent point. One is beginning the canto with Gajendra story. We have learned many things from the Gajendra. But there is a common thread is flowing all over this canto. The whole canto, if you divide into 4 categories, Gajendra, first to 4th chapter, and then 5th chapter to 12th chapter is now Samudra Manthan, or churning the milk ocean. And then you have a leaders of the society, 13 and 14 chapter, and then Vaman Dev, dwarf incarnation of God, 15 to 24. So but there is a one common thread going on, is that disrespect of Guru Vaishnavas. If you look at this chapter, why the struggles of the demigods or demons started? Where it started? Its all root cause is the previous chapter or previous canto. Even if you look at it, that how it is focusing that Indra disrespect his guru. As a result, he lost everything materially, his position and everything, and such a big mess. So there is another way also to think, that in this chapter how Prabhupada is giving very interesting point on his purport on 38, that Lord very easily lifted the mountain with one hand and placed it on the back of Garuda, and the Lord too got in the back of Garuda and went to the ocean of milk, and he did not discriminate. He picked up the demons and demigod both with the mountain and arrived at the milk ocean shore and placed the mountain there. So throughout the entire this churning ocean, one thing is prominent. I noticed that by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, that he emphasized that there is a Lord is constantly exhibiting two things. One thing, he is very compassionate. Of course, Krishna is not trying to be compassionate. He is made by himself, for himself, of himself. Compassion and the Lord existence is inseparable. They are concomitant factor. It's the nature of the Lord. It is not the idea of Hiranyakashipu when he was giving funeral eulogy, that how he actually demonstrated that the Lord identity and Lord's nature, which is actually absurd, because it is not true at all. But that's how the demon sees. And if you look at today's purport, Prabhupada is giving that kind of a warning to us, the demoniac mentality, what they think of the God's activities and God's compassionate nature versus the demigods. And throughout the next few chapters we'll see that how Lord appeared and told them that so many things will come out. The 14 things came out from this milk ocean churning. He said, do not ask anything. So they restrain. Demigods mean restrain. It can be relevant to us. The pure bhakti began with annavilashita shunyam, no material desire. No material desire. It's the same concept. This throughout Bhagavatam is there. So Hiranyakashipu, why I'm bringing that point? Because Srila Prabhupada in the purport of 38, if you look at it, few places he is kind of a hammering to us that try to get it straight, that how the demons thinks and how the devotee thinks, how the demigod thinks. Well, if I reflect in my own life, I see this kind of mentality amongst us, within us. We like to disrespect, sometimes we don't believe quadrillion bodyguard of Ugrasen, how is possible? So Prabhupada says in a morning walk, he said, don't try to figure it out with your puny brain, because we can never understand spiritual subject matter. Impossible. But it is possible with two ingredients, component, if it is with me. One is service attitude. Service attitude and subordination. That I am trying to understand, Prabhupada says, stand under, means I am trying to realize by the mercy of the lotus feet of my Lord. If we have these two things, then it's possible. And if we don't have, then demoniac quality within me. Kali Yuge Rakshasa Brahmaner Gare Janmibek Sujone Hingsa Koribare. Chaitanya Bhagavat says in Kali Yuga that demoniac mentality will be born in the home of devotee. In other words, in one body can have a both mentality, good guy and bad guy, something like this. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter, last verse, Evam buddhe param buddha, samstadbha, atmana atmanam, jahi satru mahabaho kamarupam durasadam. So Prabhupada, the original translation on that verse was that one has to discipline, control, lower self by the higher self. That means within us there is a two self. There is a lower self, demoniac mentality, and there is a higher self, the soul, constitutional position of the soul is servant of Supreme Lord. Constitutional nature of the soul is love, pure love. That's what pure bhakti means. And constitutional function of the soul is service. That's why Prabhupada put this out like this: service, servant, served. Lover, beloved, love. This is all over Bhagavatam. Not the mentality of Hiranyakashipu, but it is within us. So it's a whole Bhagavatam is nothing but purifying our heart. More we hear, we reflect. When we are hearing Bhagavatam, what's supposed to happen? It's supposed to spiritualize our thinking, willing, feeling. It's supposed to change, transform, spiritualize our consciousness. When that things happen, then what will happen? Then we'll realize the indestructibility of spiritual reality. We'll realize. And as our spiritual journey more and more spiritualizing, then we will come to a point where our connection with Krishna become very strong and steady. At that elevation consciousness, at the stage of COVID-19 or coronavirus, the fear may inflict us at material level, but same time we can still be experiencing the spiritual reality, spiritual superiority. We can taste that spirituality in Krishna. We will not be afflicted by the demoniac nature of the trouble of this world. So like for an example, Hiranyakashipu, he quoted this verse 7.2.7. Tasya tekta sabhavasya greener maya banaukasa. What Hiranyakashipu mentioned about the God? He said God is not a permanent position, the form of God. It's a temporary. It's a post. Like anybody can take the post of God. This is Hiranyakashipu's funeral eulogy to all the demoniac nature. If we think like this, sometimes some people think they cannot meditate on God's form because they don't have that connection. And Krishna very mercifully, he quoted the process. He says, Shreyo hi genam abhasat genat dhenam vishishyate dhenat karma phalo tegat santi nirantaram. Shreyo hi genam abhasat. Abhas means practice. Whatever you practicing every day, morning till next day morning till 24 hours a day, we are absorbed for Krishna. We work outside, but it's for Krishna. We go to sleep for what? So that my body will be fresh tomorrow morning, it can function to serve the devotees and Krishna. So 24 hours a day, we are connected with Krishna. For Krishna's pleasure, we are maintaining our life. We get married, or we stay brahmachari, we get a job, or stay in temple, whatever, ashram, there it is. But the purpose is that we are doing for Krishna, for Krishna's pleasure, under guidance of Prabhupada. So the service attitude and under guidance, these two things will take you there. But Hiranyakashipu emphasized that God is not a permanent person. It is a post where whoever get the post, he get that nature. So God is merciful, Hiranyakashipu says. Sometimes we also think God is merciful. Sometimes we think, why so many trouble in my life? Maybe God is not helping me. So Hiranyakashipu says, Tekta Svabhavasya. Tekta Svabhavasya means God now given up his natural position. If you look at the translation Prabhupada writes, the God has given up his natural position. This is what Hiranyakashipu thinks. Demoniac nature thinks like this. Why? And not only that, he said, Grine Maya means he has taken a most abominable form, because the Lord killed Hiranyaksha in a form of a boar. So he is explaining this. Under the influence of the illusory energy, he takes the form. That means God has no eternal form. This is what the demoniac mentality, they think. And here, beautiful, that how the Lord manifested almost like 10 times, 10 merciful form in this milk ocean churning. Out of compassion, as I mentioned before, two things are prominent in Bhagavatam. That Lord is Karunamay and Lilamay. Karunamay means He is always merciful. There is never a chance ever that merciful nature is not prominent in Krishna. That's how he is made of. This is Bhakta Vatsalya, is a quality. It's above all his function, all his potency. Even within the spiritual energy, his compassion to his devotee, his affection for his devotee supersedes all other energy. Even opulence, even all other things is subordinate to this principle, that is affection for his devotee. So Hiranyakashipu says, God now play tool at the hand of the demigod. These demons in the milk churning ocean, they see, because if you recall the past times, a few sloka before, that Indra went to Bali Maharaj, where the demon wanted to kill him, but then they noticed that he didn't come with the weapon and the armies. They came just with a proposal. When the proposal was given, what did Bali Maharaj think of God? He is a demon leader. Of course, he is a grandson of Prahlad Maharaj, but there is a little touchy things. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives an idea that Bali Maharaj did not have a strong faith on Vishnu. He is a leader of demon, but he did have a strong faith on Brahmana. How? Why? Because he can get whatever he wants through the Brahmanas. But Krishna is one personality, so much affection for the conditioned soul. He will not give everything the soul wants. He will give his own bhakti. That soul will forget all the material things. So Bali Maharaj, because he gets whatever he wants through the Brahmanas, so he kind of have a strong faith on the Brahmanas. So one day, even in Bhamana Puran says that Bali Maharaj was having a kind of a father and grandchild and grandfather dialogues in a argument, not argument, in a challenging talks. So as a Bali Maharaj, he was saying to Prahlad Maharaj that why you always think of our enemy? It's just bothering from childhood. They always glorifying the Lord. Then Prahlad Maharaj said, who is providing you all this opulence and your enjoyment? He said, by the mercy of the Brahmanas. And then the discussion went on. It's beautiful pastimes. At the end, Bali Maharaj says, we don't need Hari. When he said this, Prahlad Maharaj as a grandfather, not as a grandfather, as a pure devotee, could not take it. He said, Bali, I give you a warning. Actually, he cursed him with a blessing. The day will come, you lose everything. Then you will understand who Vishnu is. Because he always tried to put the Vishnu's presence, Vishnu's power, Vishnu's all opulence. This is the nature of demons. They always put themselves in the center instead of Krishna. So when I remember the story when Bali Maharaj was arrested by Bamandev and everybody came to see him, even Brahmaji. And when Prahlad Maharaj came, Bali Maharaj put his head down. Bhagavatam says he put his head down. Why he put his head down? Because he remembers what Prahlad Maharaj told, who was a great devotee within the family. So like this, what's the time now? Okay. So here Prabhupada is mentioning that the demon may not agree with everything. They have a different opinion on creation. Prabhupada writes, demon believes in the chance theory of creation, whereas demigod believes in the creation by the hand of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, the omnipotence of the Supreme Lord is proved here, for simply with one hand he lifted Mandara mountain. The demigod and the demons placed them on the back of Garuda and brought them to the ocean. This is like a the real superhero. Mandara mountain, that where millions of demigods completely became fatigued by carrying it little bit, and the Lord just with one hand, he just picked up like a little toy. So obviously, he is creating this Lilamay, Karunamay and Lilamay. He is merciful, at the same time he is creating a very attractive, because he doesn't need to create this for the devotees, like lifting Govardhan. He does, but devotees are not like fascinated by that. They are fascinated by the Krishna's loving exchange, Krishna's nature, Krishna's other quality with their relationship. Krishna doesn't have to show his opulence or power to make this happen. So the point came that what is demigods are always captured? They are captured of this kind of things. That how to see someone more powerful, more magnanimity, or something more astonishing than their own caliber or their own capacity, then they become like, wow, this is good. They like that. This is good. That's how they think. We see also that right now in this chapter is very nicely demonstrated that how the Lord is mercifully came and took care of this. This merciful nature with the Lord is always there. But sometimes even the demigods, they do not have, necessarily not all, majority demigod do not have a pure bhakti. And they have also some misunderstanding. Even though they see all this, we can learn from that. Of course, we don't want the demoniac quality, but within us we see that. So, power of bhakti can destroy both. Because I remember even in the beginning of Bhagavatam, the demigod came to Sukdev Goswami and they proposed that, is it possible, what is the problem with the Parikshit Maharaj, that if he is afraid of his lifespan, then we can actually give him nectar we have, because churning ocean, they got nectar. So this happens, the Bhagavatam spoken after this churning festival. So don't get mixed it, that how it's happening now, but you said they came before Bhagavatam. Yes, Sukdev Goswami give the reference of this milk ocean, but Bhagavatam is a essence of all things happen in this whole creation. So at that time, Sukdev Goswami was listening and hearing them when Indra and others, they said, oh, if Parikshit Maharaj is afraid of he's going to die in 7 days, he can take some of the nectar that we have and then we can prolong his lifespan. And then this way he doesn't have to worry. And Sukdev Goswami hearing this, he said, why you guys are proposing this? Then he says, because we want to hear Bhagavatam. We heard from our Guru, from our great personality Brahmaji and others, that Bhagavatam is the supreme nectar. But they don't understand what it is. They just heard it. And we deal with the nectar. We churn the milk ocean. So we want to get also the nectar. Then Sukdev Goswami is listening them and they said, we have a nectar, but we want to get more. Then Sukdev Goswami got a little angry. He said, you think Bhagavatam, the nectar that you got from the milk ocean is the same thing? You have no understanding. And you have argumentative mentality. You cannot be in the audience. You will disturb. All the demigods should be out. If they have a preconception. So we can hear Bhagavatam the best effect in our heart when we don't have a judgmental or sentimental mood when we hear Bhagavatam. Oh, he says this because I knew this is... No. If you have a submissive, if we have, like Parikshit Maharaj came to Sukdev Goswami, and all the audience, even Narad Muni, everybody was very much in a happy, joyful, the glorification of Krishna. We have an under guidance mood that yes, I want to serve by my ear, I want to hear, by my mouth, I want to converse or hear. Then we will get the highest benefit. Otherwise, we'll miss. Because a common thing, they say the demonic mentality, they say that the existence of evil points to God, not away from Him. A common demoniac argument is, why does evil exist? Why the demon exists? Even that question. But who is asking? Only they ask. The demonic mentality asks, being themselves as a demon. But the question could well be turned around, why should evil not exist? Why demonic mentality would not exist? Why do we expect good to exist? If you really think very scientifically, that if God does not exist, then this world, because Prabhupada in the purport, he is hammering this point, that God does exist and He is very merciful, He is very playful, in his pastime, in every chapter of Bhagavatam. So God, if God does not exist, then this world and everything in it resulted from unguided natural process. Such processes are insentient, blind, purposeless. They act without any sense of good or evil. A world created by such processes should not have any conception of good or evil. And we too, being the product of those processes, should not have that sense. As atheism cannot explain the existence of our sense of evil, it has no right to raise any question based on that sense. So atheism, if taken to its logical conclusion, ends in nihilistic, a bypass of meaninglessness. Pertinently, Bhagavad Gita, we see that in chapter 16, it explains about demon and devotee and demoniac nature. What it indicates? It indicates that once the existence of God is rejected, nothing has any foundation. That's why Prabhupada is hammering again and again in his purport. Prabhupada is very mercifully trying to remove our atheistic Mayavadi conception. Hiranyakashipu was the biggest Mayavad because he said that God was merciful, but he gave up his mentality of mercy, and now he took the form of a pig and killed my brother by the help of illusory energy. This is Mayavadi things. The God's form is temporary. Okay, I have 5 minutes. I will end with this. The theism explains that our sense of evil much better. That sense has been imbued within us by a good God to prompt us towards spiritual contemplation. And again this verse, as Prabhupada explains, that, let's see, the translation if I can get it. The Lord very easily lifted the mountain with one hand and placed it on the back of Garura. Then he too got on the back of Garura and went to the ocean of milk, surrounded by the demigods and demons. This exhibits nothing but a merciful Lord, like a loving mother cares for her children. I will end with this. If any question, comments or reflection. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. Krishna does something wonderful. And one class of people sees it as Krishna's mercy and sees the glory of Krishna, how wonderful is Krishna, how omnipotent is Krishna, how kind is Krishna. And another class of people create some kind of distorted impression. So if there are these two classes of men and these two classes of perspective, if we come in our conditioned state from the improper perspective, how do we get the clarity of seeing things as they really are and seeing how Krishna is so wonderful? How do we do that? What happens? What's the process?
If you want in a shorter answer, Prabhupada made a very simple way. He says, adapt Krishna consciousness lifestyle with two components, two ingredients. Service attitude and subordination. Always respect the authorities, always respect the senior devotees, always respect the Vaishnavas, this is a service attitude and subordination. If we have these two things, we will get out of this conditional demoniac nature to devotional, beautiful nature.
So when you say subordination, you mean submissive inquiry.
Subordination means any good things that I find within me, it is nothing but the mercy of those sincere devotee who has an affection for me. By their inspiration I am getting it. I do not want to take the credit of it. Because this is a true, it is not artificial. It is a true. If somebody gave me something, if I can utilize for their pleasure, then it is proper utilized. If not, it will be lost. And I will regret, I may not get it back. So subordination means, Prabhupada says, like to understand, stand under. Means my forehead is touching.
That connection is unstable.
Understand means stand under, means my forehead is touching the feet of my Guru always. By his mercy, I can understand, I can realize, I can go on. Is that okay, Prabhu?
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other reflection or?
The internet connection is unstable. We're losing you.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Haribol Rupa Chandra Prabhu. Dandavad.
So we also see in other sampradayas, like Sri Sampradaya, we consider some of the incarnations of the Lord, like perhaps Varaha, Narasimha. They say that these are not permanent forms of the Lord. They come for a functional, for a particular purpose. So some, so in that sense, Hiranyakashipu is not completely wrong. If you take that understanding.
What was the last sentence? I forgot. I could not hear.
In that sense, Hiranyakashipu is not completely wrong, because from that, Sri Sampradaya's understanding that the Lord takes Varahadev only in this material universe or functional purpose, but in the spiritual world exists in his Narayana forms.
Aha. You have a Bhagavad Gita there?
Yeah, I have it here.
You look at in the chapter 4. Chapter 4, I tell you a verse. In the beginning, I think 6 or 7 or 8, one of the verse, it tells you that all the form has an origin in Vaikuntha. This is a wrong idea to think that God takes a one form here, but actually those things are not eternal. These are all eternal form. It's in the text 5. In the text 5, in the purport, Prabhupada explains. Also, let's see. Okay, here it is. It's on the text 8 in the purport, Bhagavad Gita. In the middle, you will see, Srishti hetus jai murti prapanche avatare, sei ishwar murti avatar nam dhare. Mayatita parabhame savar avasthan. Did you see it? Vishwa avatari dhare avatara nam. Bhagavad Gita chapter 4, text 8 in the purport. The avatar or incarnation of Godhead descend from the kingdom of God for material manifestation. And the particular form of the personality of Godhead who so descend is called an incarnation or avatar. Such incarnations are situated in the spiritual world, the kingdom of God. When they descend to the material world, they assume the name avatar. Means every avatar has their own abode in spiritual world. It is not that they are temporarily manifesting here. The word manifestation means it is visible. But they have eternal form in Golok, in Vaikuntha, in Golok. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So if some understanding is there that God comes and takes a form, it's not proper. Means they have eternal form, they become visible to us. Thank you, Prabhu. Nice question. Thank you. Any other or? We end the class here now or? Okay. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. And I thank all the devotees there. Vancha kalpataruvesya kripa sindhavaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namo Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare